Wall Street has a lot of problems. One of the problems that's not often talked about is its frat culture. Now, we're learning about this because of an investigation that Bloomberg did. They interviewed 36 different frat members who revealed details about the way that former frat members in Wall Street maintain this hierarchy where they bring in frat members, they provide them with inside information. We're going to show you some of the ways that they do that, but just to give you an idea of why this is important or why this is so helpful to the frats, many of these Wall Street firms have a very lucrative internship programs, and getting those internships can be the first step to actually getting a job there, and this is how they maintain themselves. And it's incredibly competitive. So some of them are up to 3 times more competitive than Princeton University's record low acceptance rate. As one example, Goldman Sachs had 350 investment banking interns this year. They had 17,000 applicants. So almost any advantage that you have is going to be significant when we're talking about jobs that can pay over $100,000 and lead to careers in Wall Street. So some of the ways that they did this: they provided frat members currently in college with special code phrases and handshakes to use during interviews to let them know that they're a member. They would provide lists of questions that were going to be asked that would be sent to the frats, or the frats would have one member come, get interviewed, and then go back and provide them with recommended answers, the questions that were asked, things like that. And basically providing any sort of inside information or access that they could. And they would, when they found out that they were a member of the frat, they'd put the resume on the top of the pile and things like that.
This is how it's supposed to work, fellas. I don't know how you know how the world works, but it's all based on relationships. And talent usually doesn't win out, or else I would be fucking the richest guy here. All right.
So Jimmy Dore, the Irishman, says that it turns out, but jobs get passed down based on people you know, like maybe, for example, cops, Irish cops passing down Irish jobs to other Irishmen who might become cops or things along those lines.
My dad was part of that system. He worked it, so he got to be a beat cop for 25 years.
Yeah, good for him.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, well done. Yeah. Well done. He probably made nearly, 28.5 by the time he retired, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's without street bribes.
Right.
You don't count that. You don't count the street bribes you do it in your gross, but not for the government.
Exactly,
but this is how it works. And
additional income.
When you're telling me that I haven't seen you and Steve-O shake hands like a couple of something
with some complicated hand gestures and stuff like that.
Yeah,
no.
They have their Lord of the Rings shake.
Oh, is that?
Yeah.
Oh, is that what
you
that
don't
was?
want to see that.
Oh, no, I don't want to see that.
Look, there are, as you guys know, one of my best friends in the world was in a frat at the University of Virginia, right?
Who's that?
Michael Shore. So
it's not funny. It's the last guy you expect to be in a frat.
Totally, and every story that he tells about that makes me think, well, that sounds like a lovely college existence. They sat around, they played poker, they went out together, they get together and go on a baseball trip every year. It seems lovely. That is so clearly the exception. Like my third act as president, no frats. What kind of person? you go to college. It's a brand new world.
Already.
Right. It's a brand new fucking world for you, and the first thing you do is try to get in some club. It's not going to let that guy in because he came from the wrong fucking family. Fuck you. Fuck you and all your frats. And the sororities are worse.
The only reason I ever thought about being in a frat was because of the no Jew thing, which is nice at college. That is nice.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I'm glad you brought that up really fast. So one of the reasons this is significant is not just because it's favoritism, but because it's a very targeted sort of favoritism. If Wall Street is filling its positions based on these alumni connections to fraternities, then that means that women aren't getting these positions. It means in many cases minorities, both Jews but also racial minorities, are not getting the same sort of opportunity that these predominantly white male fraternity members are getting.
I could have been in a frat when I was in college if I'd have just held that egg in my ass 8 seconds longer. I was like, oh no! Now how am I going to make friends?
Okay, now let me stick up for frats a little bit. Look, of course, I know plenty of people who are in frats, and Michael was, Steve-O was, my nephew Hassan was, and they had a great time, and mainly it was to drink and to party and to meet girls. And to be in a
fraternal organization that gives to the poor.
That's
what they are, right? Right. That's the main point.
Right.
Of course.
Now, and by the way, they do use charity, right? And so, to be fair to them, right? And I know everybody looks out for their own. They do. That's the reality of life. You're right, Jimmy, right? But it sucks because as John pointed out, you're excluding so many people from that equation. First of all, you've eliminated all women, right? Because they're not in the frats that Wall Street is doing the secret handshakes on, right? I mean, this sororities were not part of this story, right?
Yeah.
And then my guess is the black frats aren't participating in the Goldman Sachs handshake, whatever thing it is, right? And so you
That's
can't.
a good guess.
Yeah, And look, there's plenty of Jewish fraternities, et cetera, right? Now, and every fraternity is different, and there's some good ones, and then there's ones that do the spanking and the
Like, obviously, I went
elephant
too far. Of
walk
course
and
there's
all
some
that
good
stuff.
ones, but
Right, of
still.
course, right? But overall, we can't have this, man. We can't, like, this is a real issue. This is something like somebody's got to do something about, right? Because if you took it and instead of frat, you changed the word to an all anything, right? Like all white organization, all whatever, right? Yeah. Just put it as a different group, then the government would have to step in. You go, wait, you can't do an all-white organization and you do a secret handshake and you only give jobs to whites, right? You can't do that, that's illegal, right? So now I don't know that this rises to that level, but this is, look, financial jobs, it sucks for the rest of us, but are the most lucrative jobs in America. And you're shutting out a huge percentage of people by doing this. Now, it's not official, it's not like there's no way you could break in, but these guys, as John explained, have an enormous advantage.
And also, it's not like it's not significant. It's not like bakers are giving an advantage to frat members. Like this is an industry that not too long ago crashed our economy because apparently they're choosing people based on what they know about secret handshakes rather than what they know about the stock market. Like they can say all they want that no, it's still competence is really important and hard work, and I'm sure that every member of Wall Street works hard to some extent, but apparently the criteria that they're choosing people based on is flawed in some fundamental way, and this may be just a part of it, but it is a part of it, and so they need to consider that in the future.
And the next time you hear about like, oh, the masters of the universe and these geniuses on Wall Street, and you couldn't possibly understand. Remember the guy holding the egg in his ass, okay? That's the guy who's running. It's a bunch of frat boys, and their main talent is knowing one another, right? Not that they're dumb guys. A lot of them went to the Princetons and the Harvards and stuff. Yeah. But yes, it's partly who they know. They're not some magic geniuses.
How do you join an organization that excludes other people on some arbitrary criteria? Like,
and by the way, excludes them on this criteria. Let me tell you my experience with a frat. A bunch of guys on my dorm who I really like joined this one frat, and they're like, hey, Cenk, you should join. Come on, pledge. I'm like, okay. And then I went out with them one day. We're walking around, and they had their big brother, and the brother says to them, because they're pledges, he says, hey, Doug, get down on your knees and tie my shoelaces. And I was like, okay, well, that was that.
Yes!
That was
Immediately.
that. Like, there's no way I'm joining.
Immediately.
But the guy who does join that, not every guy, but look, the selection process you're going through. So when somebody says, hey, we're going to make that trade, it might not be the right thing to do, but you remember when you tied my shoelaces and what we taught you about listening and taking orders, you're going to do the same thing here,
it's the authoritarian personality.
Right, and that is not necessarily the right group you want to select to run, unfortunately, the most important industry, which affects all the rest of the industries.